Okay, hello everyone. My name is Nate, and I'm going to be walking you through the introduction into Tinkercad and Microbits today. So essentially what we're going to work on is we are going to look at Tinkercad. We're going to be building out, I thought we'd build out like a mini golf course using some of the basic shapes and then simulating the gravity inside of the course to get the ball rolling and get it into a hole and kind of create a whole mini golf setup. That's kind of one portion over the 3 sessions that I wanted to work on. The second part I wanted to look at is the microbit and how we can use that off away from Tinkercad, but then kind of look at, well, how could we combine it with Tinkercad eventually and create something like a mini golf course? So just to back up a tiny bit, I run these sessions for UBC, Edith Lando, and we branch out to rural communities and introduce coding, technology, 3D printing, game design, all kinds of different things like that. So this is kind of a new one we're doing, and it should be a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start, and I know Joel's done some of this stuff. Ethan might be kind of new for you, so I'm going to kind of start from the beginning and walk everyone through step by step on how to use everything, and then we're going to go from there. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring in Tinkercad over here. So now, so when you come in to Tinkercad, there'll be a login and a sign up. So you can log in or sign up here. If I click the login, I like to use the personal account. It's the blue one on the bottom. And then I like to sign in with Google because that's where my account is. If you have an Apple one, and I believe there are Microsoft or Facebook, you can sign in. There's a whole bunch of options here. Now, if you can't sign in with any of those, I also have an option to sign in with a classroom. I am just going to, this is kind of my dashboard here with all the classes I work with because I'm a teacher. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to be creating a design in here, and then we're going to be building it out from scratch. That's kind of the process we're going to be working through. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to click on this classroom, and I'm going to put this class code up. Remember, yeah, so this link right here is what you want to put in, and that will allow Joel, you got to do that too, okay? You just got to go to the classroom on the side, click that button, and then put this code in. And I'll retype the code into the chat in case you lose it. K5E. There we go. And when I go back, when I refresh this, I should see you two inside of my space. Good, I've got both of you. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is once you are in, I want you to come up to the top right corner. So on the iPad, it's the same thing. It doesn't look any different. And just tap it and come down to where it says new design right here. Click that once and come over to where it says 3D design right here. So avatar, new design, 3D design, and then that will take you to a blank workspace. And I'll just I'll double up here on my iPad so we both can walk through the controls on it. With your iPad, if you just, I'm just going to run it here. So if you tap with your finger, just one finger, it moves. Actually, sorry, I'm on the iPad. I'm on this one. It'll move the space around like this. So just moving with one finger. Okay. If you grab it with 2 fingers, it will move the space like this. So I'll say that again. 1 finger is movement like this. 2 fingers is movement like this, if that makes sense. I'm just doing this on my iPad on my left-hand screen here. Up in the top left corner, there's a cube. And the cube allows you to move around the different spaces like this. You can just go to the top. You can go to the front. You can go to the bottom. You can go to the left-hand side or the right-hand side or the back side like that. So there's lots of options. Okay. Perfect. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Now over on the side here, if you ever get lost and you're like, don't know what's going on, like, let's say you're like, what is happening? There's a home button right here. So you can always tap the home button and it will take you home. It'll always take you back here. so you don't have to worry about getting lost. As you come down, don't worry about this thing. This is not important right now. This is your zoom in and zoom out right here. Right here, that's your zoom in, and that one's your zoom out. Now, to zoom in, you can also use 2 fingers and slide like that, or you can pinch. I guess it'd be like a pinch, it's called. So a pinch is like how do a finger expand is zoom in, and a pinch is
Does
zoom
it work
out.
for you?
On the trackpad, there is you should have. I mean, you have the mouse clicks on there in a ball, I'm assuming, and then so that's your home button will take you home. Your zoom in is here, and your zoom out is here. And I think a trackpad works the same way. It's like a pinch. So, yeah, that's kind of your basic movement on the plane right here. So if you come over to the top left corner, which is up here, you have a strange name. This one says Incredible Byron. Okay, so I'm going to type in a new name. We'll just call this Golf Maker. And then your last name. So my last name is Lott. So I just put Golf Maker Lott like that. Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of the basic movement on your space. Just zoom in, zoom out, and this movement right here that I'm doing like that, that's your pan movement. So that's if you have a keyboard, I'm not sure if the trackpad has if it has the keyboard on the side or not, but what you do is you hold down the shift button on your keyboard and then move like that. Or let's see if, yeah, you have to hold down the shift button to move like that. Okay, so once you have that kind of set up, let's bring in our first shape. So on the side over here, you can see you have like a massive library of shapes. So the one we want to start with is this really basic box right here. So you just pull that out and plunk that down in the middle of your space. Doesn't really matter where you put it. You can put it anywhere. I'll do this on the iPad as well, actually. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on it. And the first thing you'll notice when you look at it is that it has a color circle over on the right-hand side up here. So this color circle is where you can alter the colors on the cube. So you can choose any color you like. I'm going to go with like a purple. If you're feeling really fancy, you can click on the custom button and you have like a lot of custom colors here. You can customize it to whatever you want. Now I'm going to go back to my purple, which was more like that. Okay. And yeah, so that is kind of the color alteration button right there. Now there's a lot of other sliders here, but don't worry about these right now. We'll talk about those a little bit later on. The second thing to note, or I guess the third thing to note, if you zoom in on your box right here, or let's say you're like kind of in a weird spot and you're like, my box is way over here. What the heck's going on? If you hit F on your keyboard, it will zoom in on it. So you can either hit F on your keyboard, or you can click on it and click this button right underneath the house. This is called the focus button. So, or fit button. I guess it depends on which one you think it is. So that allows you to zoom in on the shape that you are focused on right here. You can see there's the shape. And the best way to like get used to it is just kind of look around it, look underneath it, go on top of it. And I'm just doing this all through the right click on my mouse button, or if I'm on a trackpad, I'm just clicking low and right on the trackpad. If I click low and left on the trackpad, it does a different thing. So low and right on the trackpad, and I'm moving with my other hand around like that. So that's how you move that around. If you don't want to use that, you can use your little cube up in the top up here, and you can move that one around. Okay, so on the cube itself, or the box, or whatever you want to call it, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 different white squares that run around the bottom of it. Each white square, if you click it and hold it, you can pull it and it will change the size of the cube. It'll change it in any direction. So for example, if I grab that side, it'll change that direction. If I grab the white square on this side, it will change this direction. Okay. If I grab this one, it'll change that direction, and this one will obviously change on this side. So those 4 white cubes you see on the bottom are in relation to the X and the Y axis that run this way and this way on your grid. Now you'll also notice, along with the white cubes, there are black cubes. Sorry, I shouldn't say cubes, black squares. 1, 2, 3, 4 black squares. If you grab the black square, it will only move it in one direction. So this one's moving it on the, that's probably the x-axis. If I grab this black square, it only moves it on the y-axis, okay? You can't move it in any other direction but in that direction. So the white squares and the black squares are a little bit different. The white squares are free form, and the black squares are one axis only. Okay, so you have all those squares along the bottom of your cube. You might have also noticed when I click on the white or on the black, a little number appears. One number appears here and one number appears here. These numbers, if you click on them and type into them, you can change the size of the cube on that side. So for example, on this side right here, I just changed it from 25 to 10. So this length is now 10 millimeters instead of 25 millimeters. If I clicked here and I clicked on here, if I typed in 5, now this side right here is 5 millimeters instead of 25 millimeters. Now you're probably also wondering, how do I make it back up? How do I make it like go backwards to the way I wanted it? There's a little back arrow up on the top right here, and you can click that and that will undo any mistakes you make. Okay, I'm just going to undo all the work I've done, and I'm going to go back to my original cube, which should be 20 by 20. There we go, just like that. Okay, couple more things. What I always like to do is when I'm working on a screen that's not that big, like I work in Chromebooks a lot in the schools, I always like to close this tab over on the side by clicking on the arrow, and it pushes all of that over. So you don't have any don't have any extra space being taken up, and you have lots of room to look around. So I always just this little arrow right on the side, I click it and move it over. Now, there's some other things we need to talk about. You have your 4 white cubes on the bottom. You have your 4 black cubes on the bottom. You'll notice there's also a white cube here, and that cube is that cube. I keep saying cube. That square is the height of your design. So if you click and pull that, you can change the height of your cube. You can see I'm changing it between like 23, 12, 9, 6, 9, and it goes. Actually, you can make it go underneath if you want. Now, the other thing too is you have a black arrow on the top of your design. If you look, it's a little hard to see. There it is right there, that black arrow. If you grab that black arrow, that will move your design up and down in the air like that. The white square on the top changes the height, but the black arrow lifts it off the ground. So those are two kind of different things. Another thing to note, if you lift it off the ground and you're like, how do I get it back on the ground again? You can lower it using the black arrow, or if you're feeling fancy, you can hit D on your keyboard, and D is for drop. It drops it and sticks it to the work plane. Okay, I'm just gonna talk about a couple more things here, and then I'm just gonna see if anyone has any questions. Right here, there is a double arrow. You can see it right here. There's a double arrow here. There's a double arrow here. And there's also a double arrow on the bottom. You can see I'm just hovering over each one of them. What these are rotations. These will rotate your cube. You'll notice when I'm inside of the circle, when my white mouse is inside of the circle, it rotates by 22.5 degrees. If you look, I'll back out a little bit. You can see it's rotating by 22.5 degrees. So if you put your white arrow outside of the circle, it will rotate by 1 degree, just one, very, 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 very tiny. So you'll notice that these double arrows are on every side of your cube. So you can see I can rotate this way, I can rotate this way, and on the bottom there's even one down here, and I can even rotate the cube around itself like that, which is kind of cool. So to kind of go a little bit farther in and talk about what we're going to work on today, I'm going to bring this back out and I'm going to show you, there's all the shapes you can see right here. This is a small fraction of the shapes. There are many, many more shapes than this, but we're going to stick with the basics today. So what I'd like you to do is whatever you are working on right now. So if you have a cylinder here, or you have a sphere here, or you have like a roof here, or whatever you're doing, I just want you to delete them. So you can click on it and you'll notice there is a trash can right here. So if you click on it and click the trash can, you can delete them and get rid of them like that.
Okay.
And or you can click delete on your backspace if you have a keyboard. You can also do it that way as well, whichever way you like to do it. And then I'm going to put myself
Oh,
back into the home. So my home right there is where I'm always going to start when I want to start a project. I always delete and clean it. And so that's kind of the first thing we want to do when we're starting on our project. So let's start on building out our base for our mini golf. So if you have any extra shapes here, get rid of them. Make sure it's nice and clean here with nothing on it. And I'd like you to come up to the cube again. I know it seems like I'm using the cube a lot, but we'll have a chance to use other stuff later on. Click it, drag it out, put it in the middle, and I want you to hit F. F is focus, or sorry, you can also click the little thing up below the house here. That allows you to focus as well. And I'm just going to rotate a bit, and I'm going to click on the top. This is, if you recall, this is the height right here. This allows you to lower and raise, and I'm going to drag it down. And I'm going to go down till I get to 2. So that is 2 millimeters in height. That's the height of this now. Now, if you don't want to drag it down, if you're like, I don't like that way, you can also click on the white square and you can type in 2 and hit enter. And that will also allow you to squish your design down. Now, once we have it at 2, the sides are 20 and 20. So the height now is 2 and the sides are 20 and 20. I am going to extend this side right here. I'm going to extend it and make it longer. So I'm going to click this one. I'm going to click on 20 and I'm going to make this, let's make it 80. So I'm going to type in 80. And then that's going to make the length of my cube 80 millimeters in length. And I'll do that again. If you don't want to do it that way, you can grab the black square and you can pull out until you get to 80. So there's 2 ways to do it. Don't grab the white square though, because you might mess up. I would grab the black square on the end and push it up until this number reaches 80. Hold on, I'm almost there. 8, 9. There we go. So I'm at 80 now. All right. So to reiterate, the height of our cube is now 2 millimeters high. The length of our cube is now 80 millimeters in length. Okay. So what you
yeah.
can do is you can always click F and refocus or use this over here to refocus on your design. So 2 millimeters in height, 80 millimeters in length. And now we're going to change the width of our design. So you'll notice the width of our design is 20 millimeters. I am going to change it from 20 to, what should I do? I'm going to do 40. So I'm going to make my design 40 millimeters in length. In width. So if you click on the square right here, you'll notice I have 40 up here, I have 80 on the side, and I have 2 in height. So yours should match mine exactly. What you could do to customize this a bit is you could have this a different color. I don't really like the red. I'm going to go with I'm going to customize mine to like a brown. Yeah, maybe make it look like kind of like it's wood, right? So there's mine. All right, so I've got my basic floor for my mini golf course. I haven't done anything with it yet, but it's a good start. So what we're going to do now is once we've got our basic floor, and again the dimensions, I'll type the dimensions in the side so everyone 80 by 40 by 2, and I'll just type that in the side there. If anyone forgets those dimensions. I'm going to create what are called joists on my design. Now, if I was to build this in real life and use screws and hammers and saws and all that stuff, I would need to put something underneath my design to hold it up in the air. You can't just have this on the ground like that. And if you did have it raised, it would bend, right? If you're using a big piece of plywood for this. So I'm going to create 1, 2, 3, 4 joists. They're going to run along the bottom of this design to hold it up. So in order to create joists, we need to basically bring out another cube. So I've got my floor. I'm going to grab another cube. I'm going to put it over here, and I'm just going to you can put it anywhere over here. It doesn't really matter where you put it. I'm going to minimize this up so I have lots of room to work with. And my joists, I'm going to make the height, to keep things nice and easy, I'm going to make the height 2 so I can remember. So the height of my joist is going to be 2 millimeters in height. And don't forget, if you don't like typing it in, you can always drag it down to 2 mils. In real life, this is actually really, really small. When we talk about like mini golf course, this would be like a mini golf course. It'd be like the size of your hand. It'd be really, really tiny. Now what I'm going to do is I have 2 in height. I'm going to make the length this way. I'm going to make that, I think, let's try 10. So I'm going to type that in as 10. So I have 2 mils as my height. I have 10 as my width of my board. Now you'll notice this is where we get to do a little bit of well, not really math, but we're kind of match things up. If I click on this thing right here and I click on here, if you recall, the width of my board is 40 millimeters long, which means that this little piece, I want to make it 40 millimeters as well. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click on it. So again, 2 mils, 10 mils, and this 20, I'm going to bump it to a 40. So we have our first, I guess it would be kind of, it looks to me like not a 2x4, but more like a 1x4. So the dimensions on that, I'm going to type them in. Let me click that one more time so everyone can see it. 40, 10, and 2. So I'll type that into the chat. So 40 by 10 by 2. And I'll type that into the chat. So if you're wondering what the numbers are, there they are in the chat. And now, once I've got that, I'm going to change the color of it because the red's kind of weird. I'm going to go to like a lighter brown. Maybe I'm using like a softwood or something like that. And from here, I'm just going to kind of bring it to about here. And I'm going to change my perspective on my design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the top and I'm going to click it once. And that's going to allow me to look down on my design. You can see it's like a, what would I call it? Like a bird's eye view. So looking straight down. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to click on this little thing right here. Below the minus sign, there's like it looks like a cube with like an arrow pointing down. And what that does is it flattens the design. It like takes it and turns it into like it's on a piece of paper. So it's really flat. And this view, if you click this, you can see it's like a flat, it's like a cube, but with a flat line. This is called orthographic view. And it's very handy for when we're building things out in architecture. So once I've done that and I've got my top view and I've got my orthographic view, I'm going to take my board, my nice board that I've built here, and I'm going to duplicate it. So this is a new skill. So click on it, and then next to the trash can, up in the corner, left corner up here, you'll notice there is a piece of paper with multiple pieces of paper behind it. You'll also notice there is a shortcut called Control D. What you do is you make sure you click on your 1x4. Let's call this a 1x4. Let's click it, and nothing happens. And you're like, well, that was pretty useless. But check it out. You can pull out your second piece from it. Look at that. And then you can click on the second piece, and you can duplicate that and pull out your third piece. And then you can click on that, and you can duplicate it again and bring out your fourth piece. So you have 4 pieces that are going to be our joists for the bottom of our mini golf top piece right here, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of hard to envision right now, but we'll figure it out in a minute. Now, how you line these up, if they're a little off, it's okay. You don't have to worry about that. Just kind of line them up so they look kind of equal from each other. We're not going to worry about making them exact. And I'm just going to change my angle. And you can see I kind of have my 4 joists, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have my base for my mini golf right here. Yeah, and so once you get them kind of lined up there, then you just duplicate them, and you can push them out and just kind of line them up in. They don't have to be perfectly aligned or anything. I'll show you how to use the align button actually in a minute here, so they are perfect. But to start out, it doesn't matter at all. To move along a little bit. I'll show you how to line these up perfectly. It's a more advanced tool, but it's a good tool to learn. So what you can do is, I'll show you 2 ways to do this. The first way is you click up here with your mouse button or your trackpad button, and you'll notice when I grab and pull, a red kind of square appears like this. This is called a bounding box. And you can take the bounding box and you put it over whatever you want to highlight. So I'm going to pull it and I'm going to highlight over these 4 boards and I'm going to release. And when I release over these 4 boards, you will notice that a shapes 4 icon appears in the corner. That basically is telling me that I've highlighted 4 shapes on my design. Okay, and I can actually grab these shapes and I can move them around and they will move as one shape. Now, if I just want to grab 2, I can click here and I can highlight 2 shapes and they will move as one shape. So the bounding box is a really handy way to highlight big pieces of your design and move them around as one piece. Now, the second way to do that, and I don't know, it depends on what you have, what kind of computer you're using, but you can click on one and you can hold down Shift on your keyboard and you can click on the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. And if you hold down Shift, it does the same thing. It highlights multiple things. So to reiterate, bounding box, that's one way, and hold down Shift is the second way. So whichever way is more comfortable for you, you can do that to highlight your pieces. So I'm going to use the bounding box because I find that that's easy for me. And if you come up here, there's a weird little, it looks like a graph kind of with 2 rectangles on it. And it's called the Align tool. And if you click on the Align tool, all these little kind of black circles will appear around your design. And the one you want to worry about is the middle one. And what the middle one does is it aligns everything perfectly. Let me show you. If I go like this and I say these 2 are like out of line, I'm going to highlight all 4. I'm going to click on the Align tool and watch when I click the center right here. Watch. See the shadows? It aligns everything perfectly. So everything is perfectly aligned with each other. Don't click on the bottom one though, because that will align them in the center and you'll get like they'll be stacked on top of each other. You don't want that. So again, highlight, I'll do them off again. Like one's here, they're kind of in weird places. I'm gonna highlight here. I'm gonna click the Align tool and I'm going to, now they're all kind of, they're not equally spaced, but they are in line with each other. So just so you're aware of that tool, it's pretty handy. All right, so let's get our board, this board on top of this board. So what we can do to do that, I'm going to open up my side menu and I'm going to click on this little, it's like a little arrow. You can see it's a black arrow. It's right up here and I'm going to pull this up just a little bit. You can see I'm just pulling it up just a tiny bit. And what you will actually notice, this is interesting, on the side, it tells you how high it is. So right now, mine is 2 millimeters off the ground, which is really handy because guess what? These are also 2 millimeters high. So if I'll do that again. If I lift this up 2 millimeters and I pull it over, it's going to be perfectly on top of my other pieces. Look at, I lucked out a little bit with that. I dragged it right on. So I'll do that one more time. Click on here, grab the black arrow, pull up 1, 2, and I'm 2 millimeters in height. So I'm 2 millimeters high right here. And I'm just going to pull it over and I'm going to stick it on the top like that. So we have our top piece aligned. Now you can go to top here and you can look down on it and you can be like, okay, that actually looks pretty good. I'm going to look underneath it. I've got my 4 pieces on the bottom. I've got my 1 piece on the top. Not a bad little construction project. I'm going to hit F and I'm going to come back out. Now we're going to build out sideboards. So we're going to put boards all the way around the side. So to do that, what I want you to do is I want you to, what's the best way to do this? Let's bring out another cube and put it next to your design because you're definitely getting better at that. And what we're going to do here is this cube, I want you to make it, how high should we make this? Let's see. Let's make this cube, push it like up against your design so it's nice and close. See how close it is to my design? I'm just moving around the edges, right? And I'm gonna make it, I don't know. Let's make it 11 in height. So the height, bring it to 11. That should be perfect for what we're gonna work on. So once you've got it at 11, bring this part in here, the outer edge, and let's bring that down to 2. All right, so I'll reiterate that. The height of our our, let's call it a board, is 11, and the length, the depth of our board, I guess, or the width of our board right here is 2 millimeters. Now, this part is kind of interesting. You can grab the black square here, and you can just pull it out so it covers the edge. And this is tricky. You got to zoom in, and you pull it out till it covers the edge like that. Right, you can see if I come out, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Remember, you can hit F on your keyboard if you're ever like lost, or you can click this button right here, and then you can kind of, yeah, eye that up. So there you go. Mine's looking pretty good. And then all you need to do, once you've got one side, again, that is 11 in height, that is 2 in width. And what is my length? My length is 83. Yours can be whatever you want. I just made mine 83 because that seems to cover most of it. All you need to do now is, once you've got this side, click on your copy button right here, and you can bring another board over to the other side. So you can see you have the board on this side, and then you have the board on this side. So you have kind of your two sides to block the ball when we get to that part. Okay. Okay, so once you've got your two sides ready to go, you want to get one on the front and one on the back. So to do that, we're going to duplicate again. So just take this one on the right hand, or you can take the one on the left, I guess. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Duplicate it, bring it out. So there's my copy. So I have 1, 2, 3 of them. And this one, I'm going to rotate it. Now you'll notice, and I'm going to get myself in a better position here and click on it. I have 1, 2, 3 different rotation options. So one here, and one on the ground. The one you want to use is the one on the ground. So click it and flip it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can go this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. And then that should be 90 degrees. Remember, don't bring your arrow outside the circle, because that's 1 degree. You want to go inside the circle. That's 90 degrees. Or sorry, that's 22.5 degrees. Now, once you've got that, you can bring this over, and you can kind of just shove it onto the bottom like that. Actually, I didn't do a great job of that. I'm going to push this one up, and I'm going to grab this and kind of stick it on it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the end. So I'm just going to come down to the end where the black, remember, don't use the white squares because they'll get all funky. Like, it'll get all crazy. Use the black square and pull in, snap, snap, snap. It'll snap. Oops, I was grabbing the white square, I think. Not good. And there we go. I've got my end. I'm going to come back out, and I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to bring this one to the end down there. And then I've got myself, it almost looks like a garden bed, right? But it'll be a mini golf thing. I'll explain all that once we've got this done. That should be pretty good. I think we'll do a couple more things in here, and then I'll jump over to the Microbit. I don't want to burn you out in the 3D design. It's good, but I want to show you some other stuff too. So what we want to do here with your whole design, you can see that I've kind of got it. It's almost ready to go. The only problem is this is a little bit low right here, right? Like this part on the bottom, it seems a bit low. So what you can do is I'm going to do what's called a group. So you'll notice when I grab pieces and I move them, they move by themselves. So if I want to grab like everything at the same time, it's going to be a bit hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one piece. I'm going to hold down Shift, click on a second piece, third piece, fourth piece, fifth piece, and then I've got 5 shapes all together. And I'm just going to kind of raise up my design a little bit. Not too high, or it's going to go like way up in the air. I'm just going to lift it up to right about there. And then, yeah, you kind of have your basic mini golf design. I think one more thing we should put in before we jump out of Tinkercad here is let's do the hole on the end where the ball will go into, and that should be pretty good. So I'm going to show you how to make a hole. So what you want to do is you want to grab the cylinder, which is this one right here, the one with the, it kind of looks like a ghost. Bring it out and put it on top of your design. Now, if you'll notice, wherever you drag it, it sticks to it, right? So you want to put it like down here somewhere, like right there, and hit F. F, of course, is focuses, or you can click this button below the house. and click on the side here. And this is a huge hole. It's way too big. 20 by 20 is way too large. Let's go 10 by 10. Oops. 10 by 10. That'll make it a bit more reasonable. Bring that over and put that like at the end of your design. So you can see still a pretty big hole, but whatever, that's fine. We'll start with a large one and then work our way and make it smaller. Now you can make it a longer, so make your cylinder a bit longer. So again, this is 10 by 10. Okay. The height of this, I'm gonna make my height about 30. So I'll just type that into the chat real quick. So 10x 30. 10 by 10 by 10 by 30. So 10 in 10 in width, 10 in length, and 30 in height. And once you've got that set up, I want you to grab the black arrow and I want you to lower it into the design, like push it into it. Not all the way or it'll go through, but push it in like halfway. If you look underneath your design, it should be like through the floor like that. So you have it kind of sticking out on the top and you have it like pushed through the floor on the bottom like that. Once you have that done, so you have it pushed through, I want you to click on the cylinder and then here, hold down Shift on your keyboard and click on the other piece. This groups two shapes together. I'll do that one more time. Click on this one, hold down Shift and click on this one. So let's pretend my bottom color here is like a nice orange or green. So I click on this, and my board, I click on my board, and I click the group button. You'll notice, oh, mine stayed green. Okay, well, I don't know why. But if it doesn't stay green, you can click on multicolor here. So you can click on this and click on multicolor, and it will switch back to the multiple colors that you used. The thing is, when you group stuff, it makes them all the same color. So that's why it does that. Okay, so that's good for now. I think let's jump into the microbit and we can talk a little bit about that. So what I need you to do is this saves automatically. You don't have to worry about it. Next time we're going to build like a ramp and then a ball, and we're going to use this little apple right here. And this apple is the simulation lab where you simulate gravity and all kinds of cool stuff like that. But for now, let's try out another program. So come up to the top and let's just open up a new tab up here. And you can leave Tinkercad. You can actually leave the Tinkercad tab open for now. You can always go back. And I want you to type in microbit make code. So into the top tab, type in microbit make code and just hit enter. And I'll put it into the chat. So if anybody's having any trouble finding it, microbit make code. So that's in the chat now too. And then it's this top hit right here. So once that comes in, it will bring you into a space. Now you won't have any of this stuff you see here that I have. You should have a blank space with nothing in it. That's because you haven't used this yet. So this little thing right here is the microbit. So the microbit is like a little microcontroller. So you can use it to turn lights on and off. You can use it to turn motors. You can use it to sense things. It's a really cool little piece of technology. It has, if you look on the back of it, I'll flip it around. Hopefully it's not too blurry. My room's not really bright enough, but it has a speaker on it. It has a compass in it. It has Bluetooth on it. It has all kinds of cool little bits and components. And this little gold part on the bottom, and I'll kind of go in, this little gold part on the bottom are where we have outputs or inputs, depending on what we want to do. So the microbit by itself is a really cool piece of technology, but when we combine it with this little thing right here is called a breakout board. Actually, it's called a sensor bit. And what it does is if you hook the microbit into the sensor bit like that, and mine should snap, it's hard to see. I can turn it sideways, but you can see all these little pins. So it has 16 little pins that stick out from the bottom of it. And you can hook up anything you want into these pins. What you were sent, and Ethan will get to sending you this, is these lights. So you can light up LEDs, and you can light them up in any array or any way you want. The second one you have as well, I'll grab the other piece here. Where's my servo? Is the servo motor. So this little part right here. So this is like used in well, you can use these in RC cars or little flying planes and all kinds of stuff. So that's the servo motor. So you hook these into the output pins on the bottom, and then you can do all kinds of interesting stuff with this. So this is the kind of little setup that you've been given to the microbit section. Okay, so for the microbit section here, right here, you have a sign in button in the top right corner. So once you're inside my Make Code Microbit, in the top right corner, there is a small sign in up here. So click on the sign in, and you have Microbit has not as many options as Tinkercad, but you have Microsoft, Google, and Clever. I don't know what Clever is. I've never used it before. And if you don't have any of these accounts, that's okay. I can also teach you a way to save your stuff without an account. So, but it's just easier if you sign in. That way you can do it on any computer. Okay, so in your account, you won't have any of these yet because you're just starting out. But over on the left-hand side, there will be a large purple rectangle that says New Project right here. So that's like kind of our starting out point. So click on that. And to start out, since let's just type in test, because we can like test out some of the code and stuff like that virtually. And then just click the create button right there. And that will give us, our space. All right, so once you're in here, this is kind of a little bit different from the Tinkercad one. First of all, it's not 3D, so hopefully that part will be a little more straightforward. What you do have, though, is you have a virtual version of the microbit, which is the microbit looks like this. And then here on the next to the microbit, you have your code library. So this has all of your libraries. If you click on one, you can see inside the libraries, it has different code blocks. And you have advanced code. You have like some interesting stuff down on the bottom here. Then if you go to the right, this space right here is your editor space. This is where you actually draw and build your code out. So there's kind of 1, 2, 3 different places that we work from. The final place we work from when we've done our code is the download button down here. And that's when we push it out to the microbit, but we'll stick with the virtual part today. So let's talk about animation. So let's do an animation on our virtual microbit right here. So this start button right here, this one, we don't need it right now. So what you can do to trash it is you just drag it and a purple trash can will appear and you can release and then that will trash your code. So you don't need it anymore. Then you have your forever block. You should just have a forever block. If you ever lose the forever block and you're like, I have absolutely nothing, you can always go back into basic, come down, and you have a forever block right here and a start block. So you can always drag it back out if you ever lose it and don't have it anymore. So the forever block is straightforward. It runs the code forever. It just never ever stops. It's like an infinite block. So what we'll do is let's grab a basic square and basic library, and let's grab a show LED code piece, this part right here, block. Pull it out and put the show LEDs inside the forever block like that. Now you cannot have it outside of the forever block because if it goes gray, that means the code is not running. I call it ghost code. It means it will not work. It has to be inside the forever block like that. It makes a satisfying click when it goes inside, so you know it's good to go. And the first thing I always do when learning about microbit is we do our name. So my first name's Nate. So I'm just going to do an N here. So like that. I'm going to zoom in a bit on that actually. And the first thing you'll notice is once I put it in, the code automatically runs on the virtual microbit on this side, which means that in real life, if we hook up the microbit, we can run it on the hardware. So once you've got the N, we want to go to the next letter, obviously. So click on basic, and inside of basic, we also have another special block. It's called pause. It's way, way, way down on the bottom, and it's right here. So grab that out, put it under the N, and click on the down arrow, and let's go 200 milliseconds. Now, if you were to look at this, 1 second is 1,000 milliseconds. So we're going to run this pretty fast. So we're going to say N, 200 milliseconds. Now there's two ways to do this next part. The first way is you can grab another whole block and put it down here and type in the next letter in your name, or you can take this block and you can duplicate it. So to duplicate, you would do the right click on your mouse button, the magic pad. I don't know what the right click is on it. I'll have to do some research on that. But if I duplicate that, I can put it down here, and I'm just going to do the A in my name. So Nate. I should probably do that a little bit better, actually. This way, this way. There's my A. So NA. And then I'm going to duplicate the pause button here by right-clicking on my mouse button and just clicking duplicate. Bring that down. So you can notice the code on my microbit on the left is now running NA, NA, NA. So I'm just going to duplicate the A again, and I'm going to do the T in my name. Like that. So there's the T. I'm going to duplicate the pause button again, and I'm going to run the E in my name. There we go. There's my E. And now if I glance over, and I'll make this a bit smaller by clicking the minus button here, N-A-T-E, you'll notice that the code on the left runs my name on the microbit, which is kind of cool. Now, if we were to run this on an actual microbit, maybe I'll show you that actually. So I'm just going to take my microbit, and there's my microbit right there. And I'm just going to take my USB cord that comes with it. Two ends, right? This end would run into your laptop. This end, the tiny little end, this end right here, runs into, I'll show you that, runs into the microbit like that. Okay. Now, what I would do is I would plug this into my computer. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to unplug my mouse. And I'm just going to flip my USB, plug it in. It'll pop up. Mine has a smiley face to start. And here is my microbit editor. Down on the bottom, I have the download button here, and I have 3 dots right here. So if I click on that, I click on connect device, and it says, okay, connect your microbit to your computer. I've already done that. I click next, and then it says, okay, after you've done that, pair your microbit to your browser. So you're like, okay, well, I click on the purple pair button, and you'll notice up here, I have the microbit. And then I just click on the microbit. It says BBC microbit. I click connect, and it thinks for a second, and it's like, it should tell me with a rainbow that I'm all connected. And I click done. And then now I click the download button, and it just takes a second. And there you go. So it's running my code on the microbit. Now I could unhook this and like just have it run like that.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really neat, right? Like a hardware piece. And then in here, this is the connection. I can connect it, and then we can start running stuff out of here. Yeah. So anyway, that's just an example of how the hardware works. The hardware is like fairly straightforward to hook up. It's the coding part here that is the important part to understand how the code works and learn more about it. So to show you a little bit more on the coding side of that, let me just get rid of this here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's called an input. So what you can do is you can take your name and you can pull it out and ghost it. When I say ghost, it just means it turns that gray color like that. Now, when we want to use an input, we don't want to use a forever block because a forever block is a bit of a pain. It just runs forever and we can't really do anything with it. So I'm actually going to trash my forever block, and that's going to leave me with just my kind of gray code sitting there. Now, what I'm going to do next is once I've trashed that and I've got my gray code just hanging out on my screen, I'm going to click on the purple input button. It's like this circle right here. And if you click on that, I'm going to zoom in a tiny bit on this. If you click on the input button, the first block on the top of the input button is called on button A pressed. So I can grab that out and I can just put it right here. And all I have to do is put my name inside of it, and it will automatically wrap around. You can see it's kind of like a mouse. It wraps around my name. Now you'll notice my code over here isn't doing anything. And the reason it's not doing anything is because I have to press the A button on the microbit to activate the code. So this right here is an input. It allows you to input information into the microbit. And every time I hit that A button, it will run my code. Now you might be kind of disappointed because it only runs it once. You can see every time I click it, it runs it only once, which isn't quite as cool as the forever block. But what we can do is we can do what's called a loop. Under the radio function, there's a loop function right here. It has like a tiny little arrow and it says loops on it. If you click the loop function, at the very, very top of the loop function, there's what's called a repeat block. This repeat block says how many times do you want to repeat your code. So I could grab this out and I can just put it like over here. And then I can take my entire name and I can put it inside the repeat block. And then I can take the entire repeat block and put it back inside of the code. So what this does is it says rather than just running this one time, it runs it as many times as I want. So if I want to run this 5 times, I'm going to let the code load. I'm going to click the A button. So watch. It says NATE, that's once. NATE, that's twice. That's 3 times. That's 4 times. And this is 5 times. And it should stop. There we go. So that runs 5 times when I press the A button using the repeat block. It's kind of like a loop. So yeah, we've done an awful lot of learning here. Yeah, that's kind of it for this session. We have 3 sessions. Each one will learn a little bit more about Tinkercad. We'll learn a little bit more about the microbit. Thanks so much for coming, and it's been awesome. Next week, like I said, we'll go into the microbit farther, and we'll learn how to use the light setup and the servo motor. And then in Tinkercad, I'll show you how to start to use gravity, and we'll start building out like a mini golf course and learn how to design that. Should be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Everyone have a good night, and we will see you next Thursday.